Terry Dwayne Ashford, SNnews News Radio. Thank you so much for coming in with Indacarseat, Datguy, StreetNOW News Your JIC. Terry Dwayne Ashford. You're coming back in with part two on Friday morning with Terry Dwayne Ashford. Part 2 right here for you immediately following. Part 2, the date is May 14th, and you're hearing the voice of Terry Dwayne Ashford. This particular programming is produced by Terry Dwayne Ashford, directed by Terry Dwayne Ashford, managed by Terry Dwayne Ashford, reported by Terry Dwayne Ashford, the voice of Terry Dwayne Ashford, and also the face on the cover of this photograph, of this particular broadcast, is current and live, uneditable photograph of Terry Dwayne Ashford. You're with the news of SNnews, Terry Dwayne Ashford right here, and that's what news is all about. We're opening up and discussing the dialogue that we've opened up here in Washington, D.C., led by SNnews JIC, journalist-in-chief broadcaster Terry Dwayne Ashford. That dialogue that asks you to tell us about how you feel about the fact of findings. How do you feel about the fact of the findings? Whether you agree or disagree with the findings, how do you feel about them? How do you feel about the promotion to not love who you're supposed to love? How do you feel about somebody promoting, even rewarding you not to love who you're supposed to love? How about this? How do you feel about somebody bigger than you? Yep, bigger than you. Promoting and rewarding someone who you expected to be loving you, entitled to be loved by them, who you even thought they were. And what shows you thought they were, because you have them in your house. You might even marry one. How about if you wake up and find that they were being rewarded not to love you? In your house, being rewarded not to love you. In your house, being rewarded not to love you. That is our discussion, our open dialogue that you can participate through chat if you'd like. But we're going to link that article to this particular broadcast at closing, at the conclusion of this particular voice of Terry Dwayne Ashford. This is part 2 right now that you're listening to. Part 1, they will be connected together at the end of this broadcast. Now, we also want to share with you, as a part of this broadcast, is that we included our workouts. One of our workouts that we'd taken off for about a week, and we only did that to see who was doing what, to see who was carrying out the fraud, the deception, the deceit, the disguising, the lying, and the stealing. That is why we did that. You see, we here at SN News, we work on a premise, a situational, should I say, canvas that it's good to have a whole lot of people, a whole lot of whatever as a conglomerate working all together, but there are also liabilities and risk when you have all of them. See, it's harder to control 500,000 than it is to control one. Now, thank you for that little brief 3-second delay there. We wanted to give you time to breathe, because we'll bring you some good stuff this morning. Lots of brewing topics on the issue of SN News this morning. You go to the gas pump. That's your first one right there. You see it. It's a surprise waiting right there for you at the gas pump. You reach down to gas up, and you can't. You've gotten so used to being able to do that with $2 worth of gas, sometimes with $50 worth of gas, sometimes with $100. You're used to being able to go directly to the gas pump, pulling that nozzle out of the pump, sticking it into your car, and letting it rip. Well, this morning, you can't do that. By the same token, you have civil war going on between the Israel Jewish community and the Hamas. And right here in Washington, D.C., you have someone who was made in the car. See, that guy to live in the seat of his car. Yeah, you have somebody who was made in the car seat. That guy to live in the car seat of his car. Qualified, certified, and all of that. He was forced to live in the car seat of his car. And he's not Hispanic either, who continues to roam around in camouflage and provide images of fraud. He's not Hispanic either. Let's get it right. He's not Hispanic. That is like appears to be like mice rolling around, people stealing through camouflaging and behind-the-scene editing of images over the faces like Photoshop. That is SN News' assertion. He's not Hispanic. He's a black male. Cease your mess. Cease it. By the same token, we continue to remind you of Hamas versus Jewish fights all over the world that may even be affecting your gas pump this morning. And you still don't see a problem with this roaming around trying to camouflage as somebody else, taking images of a person and then changing and putting your face on top of it, and you don't see a problem with that. As Terry Dwayne Ashford opens dialogue with you this morning through SN News, StreetNOW News, we want you to keep those things away from us. As best as you can, keep those things away from us. Again, we talk about that life, and different people live different lives. It is inappropriate to bring that life into the life of lives that doesn't live it. It's inappropriate. Running around camouflaging a person's face as identity theft over the face of originals for whatever reasons. I don't care who's doing it. From the perspective of SN News, Terry Dwayne Ashford, we find it totally inappropriate. We find it immoral. We find it criminal behavior. We find it as a problem in our world. Now, we open up dialogue this morning on what we feel might be the fuel. What we feel might be the fuel of all of that camouflage. What we feel is the fuel, the gas that causes this camouflage to exist. We open dialogue about that this morning. And that is the fact of findings of gay men being posed as straight. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about gay men being posed as straight in your home, being told to offer certain services to other men based on race? How do you feel about that? That's all we're talking about right here. Whether you like it or you don't, whether you agree with it or you don't, we're only opening up the discussion about it so we can look at it. We can see you for exactly what you are. That is what Indacarseat, that guy, is doing. You make sure you click the link within the narrative of the broadcast so that you can join in on the chat if you want to. And you can even chat in. The email address for our news station is indicated in the narrative of this broadcast as well. So is the telephone number. Please send texts. Please text me. Text me with those with comments. You have an email address. You have the telephone number. You also have a chat line. And let us talk about this. And then let you do what you thought you could do. Bad boy. Sex craving, freaky thing, you. Enjoying yourself in that little dungeon hole. Let you do what you thought you could do. And let the decisions be made as decisions are to be made. And we have our dialogue about it, and we sit here and we watch you. For SN News, I'm Terry Dwayne Ashford, as we're sitting right here on the corner of Montague right now. And we are bringing you right here on the corner of Montague and 14th Street. We have one who's trying to be reimposed, a female this time, a Caucasian female with a dog. She wants to be reimposed. We're right there at Montague and 14th Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Sneak, sneak, sneak. We all following you right now, and we're looking at you all around the world. It's a black, brownish to black dog with a Jewish head. She's a Caucasian woman who's walking in all gray, and she's been sneaky. And we are right here at the bus stop number 100-2654. 100-2654, Montague, 1300 block of Montague Northwest. Sneak, sneak, we all are there. We're going to close out with that. I'm Terry Dwayne Ashford. As you thought you can carry out your little deceit, we're going to squash your deceit right in your deceitful face. You are with part 2 right now. This is part 2 of the morning broadcast with Terry Dwayne Ashford, a black male that is facing the cover of this particular broadcast right now. All for you not to be confused as a Hispanic, not to be confused as a woman or a Caucasian woman who has no melanin in the skin. He's not to be confused in any of that. He's Terry Dwayne Ashford. He's the black guy right on the corner of Montague, Northwest Washington, D.C. and 14th Street at that bus stop we just mentioned to you. That bus stop is 100-2654. I'm Terry Dwayne Ashford, closing out right now for you.